Well, cheers, I do buckaroos. How the heck are you? I am on the beer whisperer, but you knew that. I've got some Scott Ellison playing in the background, man. A half a bottle down is the song. It was my favorite song from that album. And joining me at the pub today is Tulsa blues legend Scott Ellison.
Tom, how you doing, buddy?
Hey, man, I'm good. It's been a few years. I think the last time I saw you in town was 2017, if I remember correct.
Could have been. Where was it? You remember?
Nathan P. Murphy's.
Nathan P. Oh, you mean, okay, Springfield, Missouri? Is that what you said? Yeah, Nathan P. Murphy's in Springfield, right?
Yeah. Nathan P. Murphy's in Springfield. Yeah.
Right. Did a lot of shows there in the past. A great place. Dr. Bob and Wanda are great. And, yeah.
I met you there when you were on tour for the Cold Hard Cash album.
Right. And that was, I was talking, this is so crazy you mentioned that. Because that was my late friend from Tulsa played bass, Stan Reed, and then two guys from Kansas City, the late Jan Faircloth, who died of cancer way too young. I think he was in his late 30s, I think, like the last couple of years. And then Howard died, the keyboard player. He was older than all of us. He died. So that band, the Cold Hard Cash touring band's all passed on, and they're waiting for me upstairs, I guess, so we'll have a reunion when I get up there, but they're all gone. But that was God bless them, that was a fun tour. We went to that was probably the most top tier tour I've ever done, as far as we did all the way from, we stayed out for I think 5 months, and we ended up playing the Montreal Jazz Festival that year. And that was the year Cold Hard Cash. That was when Dennis Walker, and he just passed away about a year ago.
Oh my goodness!
The producer wrote all the Robert Cray hits and produced all those early to middle hit records of Robert Cray's. And so Dennis and I did Cold Hard Cash. Worked on it in '99. It came out worked on it in 2000. Came out in 2001. But that was, Cold Hard Cash tour was a lot of fun. That was a real cool.
It's been a couple of decades. Wow, that's wild.
Yeah, I'm still out there. I mean, that was like you keep, you just get better doing this stuff. You do it long enough, like you got to get better doing it, right?
I got to say, my favorite song from that album was "She Works for Me," and I liked it because it was just different from anything else on the album.
Oh, we got a freeze. There we go. Lost you.
Okay, there we go. I don't know.
Hello.
The song "She Works for Me."
Right. Yeah, that was a cool too. That was a real creative period. And Dennis, a guy that, it's funny when you get with somebody like that, it makes you. I always like to play with people better than me, man. Here's a guy that, that's how you get better. He was like, at that time, I just was. He brought stuff out of me. I was over. You play or write or perform over yourself when you're with somebody that good, because he wrote Phone Booth, right next door next to me. What was it? Something dark. Don't Be Afraid of the Dark. I mean, God, he's written like a bunch of hits, man. So it was really, I learned a lot, and about half of Robert's band was backing me up on that record, so that was cool. Lee Spath, who's on that Strong Persuader album, and Jim Pugh on organ on B3, who is on a lot of Cray albums, and Michael Thompson, who's played with about everybody. He's the greatest keyboard player of all time. He plays with the Eagles. He plays with Don Henley. He does the whole thing. So, and he was on it. He's a good friend of ours. So yeah, man, that was a fun record.
So your last album, There's Something About the Night, that was a big one for you, man, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was my first #1 album. It's been on the charts for 10, maybe 11 months. No, actually, it's been a whole 12 months, actually. I can actually say that, because it went to #1 in January. It was released January 10th. It went to #1 in January. And then now, 2 weeks ago, it was been on and off the top 20, but it was back up to 23, and now it's not on the charts right now. But hey, man, it had major legs. I'm so grateful. I'm so just beyond excited about it and real humble about it. It's just a real gift, get something like that.
If I had to pick a favorite song, it'd be Half a Bottle Down. That was a great tune, man.
Thank you, buddy.
So on some new material, man.
What's that?
Are you working on some new material?
Yes, well, I got a new album dropping March 10th called 0 to 60.
Oh, is that right? Wow. On March 10th, you said.
Yes, and Steve Berry and I produced it. The great Steve Berry, the great Dunhill, ABC Records, Warner Brothers, Steve Berry. And Steve, wrote I Wouldn't Treat a Dog the Way You Treat Me for Bobby Bland, and produced a Bobby Bland hit that produced that years ago. He wrote Ain't No Love in the Heart of the City. Mm-hmm. He's written a bunch of hits, but I've learned so much from Steve Berry. My writing partner, Stephen, and Michael and I write together, and Michael and I have written most of the tunes on this record, along with my homeboy from here, Chris Campbell, and I, my Tulsa brother. We've just about our third record of songs together, so we got some cool tunes on this as well. So most of the tunes are with Michael, but Chris and I got quite a few together on there too, and there's one or two I wrote myself on there. So it was cool. But it's been a nutty deal. I will have two records released within a year. In other words,
that's wild.
And I was talking to my buddies the other day, and I've actually since 2015 had one in 2015, 2017, 220. 221 and now 223. So there you have it. No, 222, 223. So, bang, 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 bang. So that's a lot of output. And, but I love doing this, I mean, it's just, it seems my output and drive to do this, it just keeps growing the older I get. I think it's like fear of it ending, because there'll be a someday where, I'm 68 and there's going to be someday where somebody's going to go, hey, Scott, you just slow down. Let's take a little break. Because there's a shelf life on this for all of us. But I mean, right now, I love doing it, man. I mean, I'm 68 and I just feel very blessed. We leave a week from today to go out for 2.5 weeks. So I can't wait.
You don't seem to be slowing down any as you age.
No, it's just
picking up steam.
Going up steam. And I just, like I say, I think, well, I'm going to say this, without sounding crazy, the pandemic was actually forced me to reinvent myself. It was really the best thing that could have happened to me, not because the pandemic was a nightmare for all of us, and there was a lot of bad in there for me as well as the good. But the reason I say it's the best thing that happened is because it forced me to stop when you see it's like, oh my God, another 2 weeks went through. Oh my God, another 2 weeks. Those weeks are off too. So it's just like, ducks like getting shot down, ducks going down, watching all the gigs disappear for all of us in this business. And so at that time, there's the grief period, where you go, oh my God, it's over. I'll never get to do this again. And then, you go through the grief period. It's like the mourning period, at least for me. I'm not going to speak for everybody else. For me, it's like, the bitter anger. God damn it, it's over. This pandemic, those sons of bitches are killing us. Whatever. We all go through the deal, and then it turned into anger, which turned into me getting hooked up with Michael Price, who wrote all these hits in California. He's written a bunch, and with Steve Berry and with other people, and so we got to start making a record. To start writing for a record, and it all came together, and he got me a deal, and Steve Berry hooked me up with Liberation Hall. We got hooked up with them. Great people, great label. And the owner is hooked up. He used to be with Rhino Records. Do you remember Rhino Records? It was Rhino. It was under Warner Brothers. It was a subsidiary of Warner Brothers. And anyway, Arnie Shore was the video guy there. He was the one that, got all the video output stuff, like the Ed Sullivan, the best of Ed Sullivan stuff. He's the one that licensed all that and got all that stuff. I mean, he's a genius. And also in his history is he broke all those Orleans records in his younger days. He was out through sleet and snow and war to get to break Still the One, and remember those things, Still the One, and
oh yeah.
With me, all that. So he broke those guys. So that's how far back he goes. So he's one of those guys that's seen every aspect of the business. And then he worked, Richard Foos and his brother started Rhino, and then Arnie came in with those guys. Like I say, started the video thing. Now Rhino turned into Shot Factory.
Mm-hmm.
Arnie's on his own with Liberation Hall, so that's who I'm with. So, but Richard Foos is still involved with that from Rhino / Shot Factory. He's still involved with Liberation Hall. So anyway, I'm in good hands, man. These guys know what they're doing, man. It's just a lot of fun. And then, just got good people around me in my band. We've been together for 20 years, so we're injured soldiers at times. I mean, we're getting older. You got to go mend up, and here we go again.
So you want to talk about the upcoming tour? Where are you heading?
Yeah, I mean, this thing we're doing. We're starting a week from. We play a week from bar night in Lincoln, Nebraska, a place called the Zoo Bar. Mm-hmm. And it's I've got my phone. Hey, babe, can you get my phone, honey? Hello?
I got it.
Yeah, let me look on it real quick. I'll give you the schedule. We play Lincoln, Nebraska, the first day. Thanks. I have to see if it's not on the phone. I can remember 1 or 2 days.
That's all right, man.
Alzheimer's hadn't quite set in yet. I think the phone's dead. Is it dead? Let's see. It might be out of power. Maybe I had to reboot it. No, I'm rebooting it because we had some technical difficulties. But I want to commend you. We've grown in technology today, my friend. What do you think?
Well, I'll tell you. You have to have a teenager around anymore as an IT person. I can't figure this shit out.
Ever since my son went to college, he played basketball 4 years at McPherson College in McPherson, Kansas. Then married a lovely girl, and just a lovely girl, man. They live in Wichita. But when he was a kid, and I was learning all this stuff, he'd be in there with his buddy. Taylor, I got something I need to talk to you about. Hey, how do you do this? I mean, it's like, yeah, if there's not a kid around for guys like you and me, it can be crazy. Okay, let me look on here real quick, and I will give you the dates. Anyway, let's see here. I will tell you immediately. Yeah, I can't wait to get out there, buddy. It's going to be fun. It's going to be a blast.
So you don't enjoy touring any less as you get older, I see.
I'll tell you why. Because you figure if they want to hear me and they're still, want to book me and I still get booked, then when you start getting older, you go, they still like this shit, man. They love this stuff. Okay, man, we got it where there's no retirement's completely out of this. Okay, so here we go. Okay. Wednesday, I got the Zoo Bar in Lincoln, Nebraska. Thursday, there's a Blues Society shindig in Omaha, Nebraska. And then Friday, Legion's Art Center in Cedar Rapids, Iowa. Saturday, Ernie's Bar and Grill in Clear Lake, Iowa. Sunday, Byron's in Pomeroy, Iowa. And then we're off and then Thursday night, Buddy Guy's Legends in Chicago. I can't wait for that one.
Oh, wow. That'll be a big one, yeah.
And then Friday and Saturday at the Slippery Noodle in Indianapolis, Indiana. So, and then that's 2 straight weeks out. And then I think they're adding some more there. So,
well, great. I just wish you were getting a little closer to Springfield, man.
Yeah, man.
That's my neck of the woods.
Yeah, I love that town. I tell you what, Springfield, it's such a music town, and they're great players. I want to commend all the musicians in Springfield. I've always been a big fan of the musicians there, man. There's some great players there, and great. I think there's something. The geographics play a lot into all this for all of us, and hey, man, Tulsa's a good place geographically with all these other things that go on. And of course, Springfield being right there between, close to St. Louis or whatever. So, hey, good things around us, man. Good things around us.
So I got to be honest with you. I loved your early stuff, but you seem to be aging like a fine wine musically. I mean, your stuff just keeps getting better and better.
Thank you, Tom. I appreciate that, man. Thank you so much.
When I listened to that last album, and man, I mean, there's not a clinker on the album, man. Do people still say album? I don't know. I'm old.
Oh, no. All the time. I have all the time. I was laughing with my son. We were emailing, texting back and forth about stuff, and we were talking about somehow we've been on a sports thing, and I've been watching these playoff things, which I love, and football stuff. And we got on the subject of music, and I said, yeah, when I said your father used to I had a GE Wildcat stereo, and I used to get the needle, and I could see the darkened part of the 45 where to put the needle on to figure the riff out on a Muddy Waters record or on a Howlin' Wolf record. Da 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 da. So. And he cracked up. He's going, God, Dad, did they have cars back then? I mean, it was like it's still. He's 26 or 20, yeah, 26. So stuff like that is really, it's like you and I being here and our grandparents talk about, the Roaring Twenties or something. I guess I don't know, something like that, right?
Well, I mean, I grew up in Southern California. I was a big music guy. I went to the showcase clubs in Hollywood a lot back when a lot of the 80s metal bands were out. And I think back now, holy crap, man, we're talking 40 years ago now.
Oh, I know. It's great. I know you start thinking of the years. Like I went to LA in March of 83. And I look back on that and I go, oh my God, it's just how long ago that was. It's pretty funny. Hello.
I'm back. I was trying to get the music back on for you. Here we go.
There you go.
My screen went off.
Hey, there's no warning with some of this stuff. You'll be going great, and all of a sudden this goes black. Another thing about this new album, the album, something about the night, is having Albert Lee on the record. Really was a big thrill for me having Albert Lee on there. And did you know that? I don't know if you knew that or not, but he's on the last cut. Albert Lee's on the last cut of my album.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing, man.
Yeah. The guy's so good, man. I mean, it just, you hear him play and, he can play anything. I mean, it's like, he's such a monster and just the nicest cat in the world. But, it's just, guys like that, man, is if you play guitar, I mean, it's just, he's got a style that it's like, I mean, it just boggles the imagination how his facility just blows me away. But anyway, he's a great guy, great player, and it's an honor to have him on my record. It was so fun.
Yeah, it's amazing when you get players like that. I imagine, you mentioned earlier, you like to surround yourself with people better than you. Right? It brings out the best in you, right?
Oh man, these guys, and when I say that, like being from Tulsa, I mean, I am the luckiest, most blessed guy in the world to be born and raised in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and have this treasure trove of guitar guys that I get to. They're all, like to grow up with, Tommy Triplehorn, Tommy Crook, Mike Bruce, Rick Durbin, just on and on and on, man. And I used to go sneak and watch. I ended up playing with Bill Davis in the early '80s, late '70s, early '80s, before I went to California. And I used to, sneak into hear him and Tommy play, and with Chuck or something, and with Blackwell, I could have been like 15 maybe, and it was the greatest music I've ever seen. These guys, I mean, you just, total inspiration. But I mean, to be younger and have guys that good to look up to. I mean, Jim Byfield, I can't believe I forgot him. Jim Byfield was a big influence. A great singer, great rhythm guitar player, great solo player. Doc on guitar, the best. Those guys together and, just unbelievable. So, get to grow up with all that. And of course, all the, J.J. Cale goes without saying, he's like our, he's the best that ever came out of Tulsa as far as writing and playing. He taught everybody, really. He was kind of the innovator. Really, to me, it's the geographics, like I say, play a big part. But, the Tulsa sound is Leon Russell and J.J. Cale and all the guys that played with both of them. And then all the guys from here that play with Freddie King, all the guys from here that play with, like I say, Leon, that play with Duane and Bonnie, that play with Eric Clapton, that play. So that is the Tulsa sound. Make no mistake. And when I say that, all those guys invented all this stuff that all of us play now. Now, being 68, I would consider myself like a third generation Tulsa sound guy. The guys, I would say first generation. Of course, the guys invented it, like Leon, J.J. Cale, Chuck Blackwell, Jimmy Markham, Stick on bass, Gary Gilmore, Carl Radle, Dick Sims, Walt Richman. So Walt would be kind of between the first and second generation because he was a whiz kid, so he played with the older guys when he was younger. So it was up in that deal, and then Jamie and Dick would consider be like second generation or third, kind of in the second, third thing. So they're right under the guys that invented it. So they're part of the invention too, because you got to give. I look at it like the Tulsa sound really was invented by Leon and J.J. Kell and all the people I mentioned that grew up in that period of time that ended up playing with everybody, Chuck and all the guys I mentioned, Karstein, Teagarden, and all the people at that time. And so then Jamie, Dick Sims, and Walt and all those guys were the second group of inventors to completely complete that brand of music, if you will, like the Philly sound or the Memphis sound or whatever. I mean, it's like, so the guys I mentioned, like Dick Sims, Jamie, Walt, Larry Bell, he's on the first, actually, he's kind of in between the first generation and on the cusp of that thing. But all those guys I mentioned dug the dirt, broke the seal, and planted that and made that happen. It's a mixture of blues, gospel, rock and roll, country, all the genres. And then throw Ronnie Dunn in that with his country influence within all those guys, because he played with all those guys. Most of the guys I mentioned, Ronnie Dunn played with. And so he's a part of that too. Because when I was coming up, Ronnie wrote some great wrote a couple of great R&B-esque kind of things that I used to do with, in fact, there's a tune, God, what is the name of the song? I can't believe it. Now I'm on national television. I can't think of the goddamn title of the song. I can't believe it. If Ronnie Dunn ever sees this, Ronnie, if you see this, Back on My Feet Again. A great song, goddamn it. I swear to God, I thought about that song. And anyway, so they did a deal down I think it was at the church, but I was on guitar, Walt on piano, Randy Panda on drums, who was on bass? I'll think of that in a minute. But anyway, Mark, I'm not singing it. But anyway, and Gary Sartain was doing a funny deal in the thing. He was doing some kind of funny comedy stuff. It was just hilarious. And so, but Jimmy was singing Ronnie Dunn's song. Great friggin' song. And I remember back then I go, and I done a demo with a guy, Carl, somebody, I can't remember his name, but anyway, we did a 4-track demo. This is like 76, 7, something like that. And I went over and I met Ronnie Dunn for the first time. And my friend knew him, and they'd written songs together, whatever, played guitars, keys, or whatever. Ronnie Dunn picked up a guitar. I think he had his dad's Martin, maybe, or something. It seems like he had his dad's Martin, or he had a Martin. I think he mentioned his dad's Martin at one time because his dad played in the early days. His dad was great. Had a radio show, I think, or something. He hit a D chord and sang one note. I fell off the floor. I said, the guy, he looked like a star then. He had this cool blue jean jacket, sleeves rolled up perfectly he looked like a rock star. Mm-hmm. In this apartment we went to do this demo. I think it's an apartment somewhere out south before, and he just hit a big old country campfire D chord and went, hi. I just went, I just thought right there, I go, God, I'm no good. I'm not any good. I mean, that's first thing that hit me was like, I'm not that good. And when I say that, I'm just going, when you hear somebody, right then, you see it maybe once or twice in your life, but I knew right then, this guy's going to be huge someday. And this is like 77. This is years before that. But anyway, that, and so Ronnie's right in there with all the, he was around the Gap Band, of course.
Yeah.
Last but not least, Robert Wilson, Charlie, Ronnie. God damn, those guys were friggin'. That was our Flying That Family Stone. That was our Al Green and Friends. That was our everything like that. That was our, friggin', that was our wicked picket plus tax and then some on top. I mean, that was so Tulsa. Hey man, I've mentioned all the ones I can think of. I know I forgot a bunch. Pardon me if I forgot a few, but hey, if you're a guitar player, I know kind of going around the horn here, but I'm glad I got to talk about all my people that I'm so proud to be around and grow up knowing some of the people and some better than others. But hey man, if you're a guitar player and you're 68, you couldn't have grown up in a better place. I'm prejudiced, of course, to Tulsa, but that's
Absolutely.
and a lot of people say that don't even hardly know Tulsa. They just know. Like I went out to, the first session I did concerning my thing. It was a recording session myself and Rick Slaughter, who's played with everybody. You know, Van Morrison and Nicolette Larson, everybody. He one of the greatest drummers I've ever played with. It's so funny though because he came up and said, first thing I said, "Hey, nice to meet you, man. Do you know Chet Blackwell?" You know, Chet Blackwell from Tulsa, legendary Chet Blackwell drummer, you know, the greatest, him and Karstein and T. Gardner and Jamie, those four guys, and Jim Keltner, the big five right there, baby, coming in the top. But
yeah,
man, so, you know, but that's a Tulsa guy, and this guy didn't even, you know, just met me. So there you have it. You know, I'm babbling about, get me talking about this Tulsa guys that are my.
All right. That's all. Hey, that's why we're doing this.
Talk 2 or 3 hours on that alone, you know.
Hey, I just found out, I guess it was a few years ago, I found out that Dwight Twilley was from Tulsa as well.
Man, what he's a talented guy. And he's right in there too, man. My drummer, Robbie Armstrong, used to play with Dwight. And thank you for reminding me. And last but not least, man, I have so much respect for him. And he's a guy that, you know, and great records, man. Made great records. Him and Phil Seymour were a great team together. Mm-hmm. Together and solo, and those guys were, you know, hey man, that's the Tulsa Beatles as far as I'm concerned, you know.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. Yeah,
hey, that's the Tulsa Beatles, man. Him and Seymour, hey man, that's the Tulsa, and Coach the Rogues 5, Randy S. You know, when I was young coming up, I had a band, the Night Riders. I think we were 12 years old or something, and the Rogues 5 were like the Beatles. That's we saw them at Bel Air Village. The summer of, God, I'm really dating myself here, but screw it. Fuck, it doesn't matter anymore. I can't be vain at 68 about my age. Can I? No, I'm joking. But anyway, Bel Air Village, I think it was the summer of 66, maybe? Yeah. They were playing at, and yeah, I was 10. No, 12. I was 12, I think. Yeah, 12, summer 66. Born in 54. Hey, I was 12. Make no mistake about that. But anyway, so we got there. And I hear Jamie playing, and they were playing some Beatle tune. I'm just going, I was like driving my car or something. I might have been driving the car. It was like the parting of the Red Sea. I go, how can anybody be that good, man?
Yeah.
As a kid, you see that. So that's another, you know, they were like the Beatles to guys. They were 2 or 3 years older than we were. So we looked up to those guys. And then when we got to play with them, when we got older, it's like, hey man, I got a gig with Randy S tonight. Hey, I got a gig. Hey, Jamie and I are playing. You know, it's like now we get to play with some heroes. You see what I'm saying? Like if you're younger, you're seeing them, you're back here watching them on the stage at Bel Air Village, and you're getting eaten by mosquitoes, and you know what, and you know you're out there watching these guys, and it's just mind-boggling. But hey, that's another part of it. Just and Dwight, getting back to Dwight and Phil, those guys, you know, just had a vision and they worked their asses off. And my hat's off to those guys. They really had a work ethic as young teenagers that rubbed off on a lot of us because they worked at it hard, man. They really were a big influence on me in recording, you know, demos and all that kind of thing. Because those guys were always recording, and that's a very important thing, man. Those guys, and that's another thing. My hat's off to those guys for being that into it and learning from that. And we all learned, a lot of us learned from that, you know.
So what direction are you taking this new album in?
You know what I did on this time? The other one was, you know, a little more produced. You know, we had the Waters, the famous Waters singing group on backups on 2 or 3 tunes. Marcy Levy is Marcella Detroit, I must say now, is on 2 or 3 tunes, and what a pleasure to have her on there. she'll make. I mean, God, she's so good, man. She's so good. She can make anybody sound great. I mean, I'm telling you, it's like she can make anybody sound good. She's one of the greatest singers I've ever heard anywhere, and just a sweetheart, just pretty as hell, and she looks like she's 30, and she's not much older than that. But I mean, no. Anyway, she's.
Hey, don't give it away, man.
I'm not. I didn't. I didn't slip. But I'm not. But she's the youngest looking chick for her age.
Yeah, yeah.
Youngest looking woman I've ever seen in my life for her age. Is like mind boggling. I mean, I my hat's off. That like anybody. It's unbelievable. But her talent. So I had great talent on this record, and
Right.
0 to 60 is not as. It's more stripped down. It's more of a live center record, and so I can do everything pretty much. You want to do all your key tune, be able to do most of your stuff live. I mean, that's why you do this stuff. But there's always going to be overproduced stuff that sometimes you'll need. I'm a guy that sometimes I like. I like everything. I like all kinds of music. So sometimes I like more layers on some song. Like, there's sometimes you have to find that sweet spot and be not get too crazy with overdubs because you can't replicate it live. And so there's a few of those. I mean, I can do pretty much all 12 songs on this record that are on there, and I could still do most of the other ones, but there's some songs that you really, because we're a trio, so, and we're a real fast-standing trio, but there's some things that just, you got to have a bigger ensemble to really song justice. I mean, I can get away with it most of the time, but sometimes it just sounds naked. There's a few tunes that really need a bigger band doing those songs, but hey, for the most part, but this next one coming out March 10th, called 0 to 60, folks. It's a little more stripped down and more kind of just coming out of the fire at you. Here we come.
So how can folks find that album?
It's on every platform. Amazon, all the platforms.
Okay.
Where fine records are sold on the internet, on every platform. And if anybody goes to, I think they're in Target and Borders and some of those retailers. I don't even know if there's retail anymore, but I'm so busy all the time. I just figure, okay, if they bought that, they bought it off of Amazon. If they bought that off of iTunes, I don't even, it's the culture. Like I came up in the retail. I know I'm older than you are by far, but we came up in the retail era. I mean, like, in store. God, it's so different now. In store record signings. When was that? I remember, and in fact, Springfield, I used to love doing those in Springfield. In fact, the most fun I've ever had with in-store record signings by far over everywhere, Springfield, Missouri, I'll tip my cup. That was it was always, for whatever reason, it was just a little more action. Mm-hmm. It seems like the love of buying CDs, for the love of God, please somebody buy these things, was a little more rampant there at the time. It was but it just seemed a little more excitement on just that part of the deal, buying CDs or records or whatever, and you want to see the thing before the show. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's like, and I guess you would say that's our meet and greet by proxy, really.
Yeah. Anyway. Doing a pre-sale on that album at all?
What's that?
Are you doing a pre-sale on it?
Sure they are. Yeah, it comes out. It drops March 10th, and I'm sure they're going to do all that. Yeah, they're going to do some kind of special. I think they're going to do some kind of 2-song thing or something. I'll be talking to them sometime later in the week, and they've been real busy too. They got some other projects going besides mine, getting ready for mine, and it's been a real busy time. I'm just glad that their company's been doing great for a long time, and Arnie Shore and those guys, I love them, man. They're great people, and Richard Foos, what those guys have done in the business is just mind-boggling, and then not to mention, like I mentioned earlier, like Steve Barry, his talent, what a beautiful guy, and his lovely wife, Julie, and just great people, and just so talented, man. I've learned so much from writing melodies. Michael's a lyric man, but I wrote, like I said, I do write lyrics too. Not very much anymore since Michael as my primary partner. I don't have to even attempt that anymore. I just concentrate on music and melodies and let Michael be the Bergman of this deal. You know, he's so talented. But you know, Steve Barry and Michael, those guys, they've written hits. They're just so talented. They know how to do it correctly. And you know, Steve produced so many records too. And Steve Barry produced, you know, ABC Dunhill, you know, Motown. He wrote Secret Agent Man with P.F. Sloan. He's, you know, just you can look up his discography. It's unbelievable that all the credits he has and all the things he's done. But I tell you what, man, I'm convinced he can hear grass grow, because the mixes, he helped me with these mixes over the period of 2 records. We did now we've done 2 records together, and you know, I'll be on the phone and say, yeah, just pan that a little to the left there on the thing and pan this to the right, you know, and I'm writing this down and going there and I'm just like, oh my God. And then as they bring the, you know, on the, I remember one thing, I think it was on another record. It was on the title track, Something About the Night. And the backup girls did such a great job on that. La-dee-day, day, and you doing the Rayettes kind of thing, you know, that la. And so, I was bringing them in like on the first chorus. And here's the little thing about those guys know how to make hits. I learned so much from Steve on this. Just this little thing like this. He said, Scotty, bring him in the second chorus. I go, oh my God. So it has somewhere to go. See, that's just a little part of it right there. But that little part of it can make the difference between it being okay or being really good. And so you bring in you don't hear there's something about the night, you know, doing the chorus or whatever. That was great, wasn't it? But anyway, you know, there's something about the night. So I'm by myself singing that. And the next chorus, the second chorus, you know, something, you know, the la-dee-day, they come in, and just like, it's just the wings open up and they come in. And so, but things like that, you know, and where to pan guitars maybe to the left or right, which Brett Baldwin's a master engineer and mixing guy at Tea Gardens, as David is too. And but you know, Steve is just those things you learn like that are just you know, once in a lifetime. And so you know, you learn how to do it correctly. And those guys know a few things you don't know, just a touch. You think they've written about 90 hits. So anyway, it's real. Like I say, that falls into I want to surround myself with people that know more than I do. So there you have it. So that's how you learn, you know, get better.
Well, you seem to be as much of a music historian as musician listening to you. Because I've enjoyed listening to all those folks you're talking about that you've worked with over the years, and mostly that have influenced your sound over the years.
Yeah, and you know, like I say, it's just and being around here, I can't say enough about my upbringing in Tulsa, and you know, and then what Teresa's doing with the church now. It's just like, it's unbelievable what she's done with the church studio. And oh my God, it's great what she's doing for Tulsa by having such a beautiful place such as the church, and how she's just. Have you checked it out? I haven't even gotten to go down there and check it out yet because I've been gone most of the time. I'm gone so much, but I got to do that. But it's really a really great thing for Tulsa what she's done, and you know, keeping that Leon Church thing, that history that must be, you know, just you can never stop that flow, man, because that's the guys, like I said earlier in this broadcast here, that those guys invented this shit, man. They invented all this stuff we play. They invented it. And so being a like 3rd or 4th generation Tulsa guy, I'm really the only guy, me, Matt, and Robbie, I could have to say right now, there's other people playing the Tulsa sound. I'll never say that. I mean, you know, but we're out there like doing what we learned from the guys that invented it. And then we, like I say, the tier of guys like Walt, Jamie, Dick, you know, Larry Bell, Boatman, those guys, man. So they kind of put the corners and put the sweetening on what Leon and J.J. Cale, Mark Blackwell, those guys, Jesse Ed Davis, God, I can't believe. So you have all that, and Stick was a big part. You know, it's Gary Gilmore, Chuck Blackwell, and Jesse Ed with Taj Mahal. And that album changed music, and they went over and played with the Rolling Stones, and that's history too. So, man, they're looked up to as I looked up to them. So, so in saying that, Matt Cole, Robbie Armstrong, and myself were out playing what we learned, the original Tulsa sound. And so by being Robbie was, he's the oldest member of the combo, and I'm second. But anyway, it's happen very often. But no, I say that for Robbie because he came up with Chris Campbell and those guys in that, the time Jamie and Jamie Goldegger, Dick Sims, all those guys were coming up. And so both Chris and Jim Sweeney were such big influences on me as singers too, man, and influence on a lot of other guys around here. And that band, the Mystery Band, they played everything. They played everything so good, man, to make your eyes pop out. It was unbelievable. And Jim Sweeney, God, man. Wilson Pickett the second, both those guys. And now they're singing together with, have their own thing. Jim Sweeney, Chris Campbell together. They sing, together in clubs now doing their duo thing. So, it's just something in the water. And then the new guys coming up. Playing the stuff are great. Some great young guys coming up and playing. And but like I say, we're out doing this the original Tulsa sound, and it's in our blood. It's how we were raised, and a lot of it's in my music, as you hear and see. And it's all what we learned from those guys that I've mentioned. And so it's a beautiful thing, man. I'm loving it. I feel like I'm getting better at 68. You keep learning, and I'm thirsty for knowledge, man. I'm always trying to get the angle on, hey man, I'm going to, get better. And just, I think, and like I say, the pandemic thing, during that pandemic, I probably gained 5 or 6 years of playing in 2. And I say that very humbled in saying that, but I worked at it so hard. What I've really developed, I'm glad we're talking about this because I'm excited, is like, the thing I really developed over this period was my slide playing, all the different tunings and playing in different tunings, and worked really hard 5 or 6 hours a day, for a long time. And I'm not the same guy I was before the pandemic. It's a whole different thing, but, I'm better. And, just feel good. I'm just lucky. I'm knock on wood, got this health, to be able to go do it, because we're not young guys,
I can't believe how you can do it. I mean, I turned 58 this year, and I got arthritis so bad sometimes I can't do a damn thing.
I got 10 on you.
Play like that still, that's amazing to me.
Yeah, I got 10 on you, and I think it's the, when you're younger, and how many people, I'm not trying to sound cliche or anything, but like when you're younger, you really don't, you do take it for granted that you get to go, hey man, I get to go do these bit of shows. And side man, I was a side man all the way up to 38 years old. I was a side man all the way up to, 91. And that's when and in between, I really started working on my solo act. I was on the road with Gary U.S. Bonds, and I was in the dressing room, and they had a TV in there. It was between shows. It was a 3-week tour. I was playing rhythm guitar with Gary U.S. Bonds. And this is 86, I think. No, yeah, 86. And all of a sudden I was in the dressing room and just kind of, I was really tired. We'd been out. So Robert Cray, the MTV was happening. And all of a sudden I see, dang, 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 gang, dang, dang, and Smoking Gun. And I just was like, I gotta be a solo. I gotta get this. So I gotta be a solo guy now. But I kept it. So then I've been writing tunes all the way, since '83 and all that. So now here's another thing. The writing part of it all came from California. I had one song. I had a half a song that was worth a shit when I left here in March of '83. I didn't have a whole song. I had a half a song.
I had a song.
I had a hell of a half a song. It was called "Where You Stand With Me," and it ended up on my Ice Storm album. And I finished it with a guy named Ronnie Floyd, a guy from New York, and New York City. That's where he's from. He's from New York, and The way I met him is I auditioned for a band named Junior Mintz, the Dukes of Soul, and this guy was from Houston. The singer Junior Mintz was I never knew his real name. Great black dude, man. This guy was so freaking good. He sounded like between Bobby Bland and Wilson Pickett and Al Green all in one. He just like he could sing the phone book, you know. So we did all this. We did everything from all the sax, Motown thing. But anyway, I got that gig, and I needed the money at the time. I was so broke, and as a sideman, so I got that gig, and that's how I met Ronnie. So anyway, about 6 months into the tenure of this deal, I said, I got this tune. You want to help me finish this thing? Because we were doing a couple of their tunes, you know. And so we finished it, and then we started doing it in the act, and so that, and then from there, then I put it on my Ice Storm album. But that's my story because he really completed it so well. But I had a half a song when I left town. I didn't have a whole song when I left Tulsa. I had a half a song. Yeah, the rest of them were horrible. No. But
how was it working with Gary U.S. Bonds? I was a big fan.
Oh, he's great, man. He's great. I didn't see him very often. The band was funnier than hell, man. He had this road manager that played saxophone. God, he'll probably never see this, but maybe he will. I won't say anything. But anyway, it was like you had to get comedy going within the combo to kind of deal with it. But that's another day. It's all good. But I was going to say something. So anyway, the Robert Cray thing.
Yeah.
I saw that, and so when I got off that tour, I immediately started working on my solo thing. So what I would do for you youngsters out there that want to start putting your own band together. So what I did, it's kind of what everybody does, I guess. What I did, I got the best players I could find that could get along great. You know, that you could get maybe somebody. You got a bass player and somebody might be better, but you can't get along with them as good as this guy or somebody. You know, they want to play with me instead of like, you know, somebody that's better than me, but I'm got more comedy going. You know what I mean? You got to get the right nucleus. It's not really the whole summation of the parts is the great music. It's not. You could get, you know, 5 monsters together and it lasts 5 minutes. You know, because they can't groove together because they're all, you know, trying to play too much or whatever. So anyway, that's the whole shit anyway. So anyway, got the right combo. So I was take combo. So I got this together. So what I would do, Tom, is we'd play for the Door somewhere, and I'd work, you know, sneak in and say, look, man, we'll play for the Door. I'm not going to charge anything, man. You know, so I'll bring people in here. And I would pay the guys out of my own pocket. I'd put some tour money away and save that to pay my guys. If I booked 3 gigs, I'd put that away to paying for 3 gigs. That way I didn't have to worry about, hey, if I have 10 people tonight, if I have 150 people, whatever, I'm not going to get that many. I'm not going to get. Let's cut this down. Let's say 35. Can we? But anyway, but I would always assign that money to cover my costs. I'm not expect these guys to work for diaper money. I'm going to pay them well for playing with me. You know, I can't pay them, you know, like what BB King could pay him or anything, but I'm going to pay, you know, make it worth a while or whatever. So and I pay for a little rehearsal money to keep the motivation up, keep the morale going, you know, paying for rehearsal, man, paying for their time and do all that stuff that you got to, you know, when I came up, like when I went to LA and I started getting paid for rehearsals and a guy that used to be real good, the late, he's the guy, Eugene Church. I remember he was a guy. I worked for Eugene Church. That's how I met Lou Johnson, you know, pretty girls everywhere. So that was fun playing with him. God, he was a riot, man. He was so friggin' good, man. What a great band. Kay Ballard on drums, who ended up doing my first tour with me. Lou on keys, so he ended up going on the tour with me. So out of that band, the drummer and keyboard player, and me and another bass player, Barry Love from Anaheim. And I hope his health's still good. Barry, if you see this, hope you're feeling better, buddy. I'll be out there soon. I love you. I miss you. I'll be calling you, and I'll see you out there soon. Barry Love, great guy, great player. But we had a good little 4-piece band. We played all over the country. We did like 14-state tour in August of '93. And but you know, Lou Johnson, you know, when I came back to Tulsa, I brought Lou and Barry with me. So we played around Tulsa for a while. But you know, really missed Lou. He passed a couple of years ago. But we played together. We did the Eugene Church thing, and then we played together in LA for the rest of the time I was out there. That was 88. I think we did that 88 or 9. So really, no, 88. So Lou and I played together, 5 years straight, 6 years counting Tulsa, So yeah, and he's the one that did, he had, Burt Bacharach produced some hits on him in the early 60s, and Alan Toussaint produced some stuff on him. He had some semi-hits. He was on American Bandstand. He had, he's from New York. He was a legend. Sorry about that. What did I do here?
No, you're good.
So I'm like, you and I are technical guys now. The kids would be proud. But anyway, so he passed away. So, man, he just, and I'm going to mention Casey Van Beek. Hope you're feeling better. He's another guy that I think he's from California originally. And he might as well be a Tulsa. He's been here forever. He's riding with Carl Radel and Gary Gilmore, and hope he's feeling better. Casey's he's been on 5 or 6 records of mine through the years. We played together with Walt and the late Jimmy Oldacre and the late Bill Davis back in the early 80s before I went to California. And one of the nicest guys you'll ever meet and one of the greatest players you'll ever meet. And he's played with everybody. He could have had the Eagles gig, and he had to turn it down because he was with the signed band with Warner Brothers and he couldn't do anything. They offered the Eagles gig and he played with Henley and Fry on the Linda Ronstadt thing. He was in that band. And then when they went to form the Eagles, he was the first pick because he plays great and sings great. But he was with some band that was signed and he couldn't do it. All the time he'd go, Scott, do you think I made the right decision? He's so funny, man. God, he's great. And he played in the Tractors. That was Walt Richmond.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay, yeah.
Oh, yeah. I know my history. Here, let me run it down to you. Okay, that's Walt Richmond. That's Jimmy Oldacre. The late Ron Getman, who's one of my guitar guys. He played on 2 or 3 records with Casey. And, so that the Tractors, I mean, my God, man, Ripley, oh my God, what a singer, Ripley was so talented, and what a lovely wife, what a lovely family, man. Those guys are so good. But here's the thing, man. I mean, can you imagine, those guys had, Ripley, they had the church studio, and they were down there working on that record for about, I don't know how many years, probably 5 years, which sometimes, things develop. It's this, hey, man, it's the way this business is, but it doesn't matter if it takes 30 years. What they accomplished was freaking, I'm so proud of those guys, man. It blows my mind. I could talk about this stuff for 24 hours straight, but here's the cool thing. So Tim DeVaugh was running Arista at the time, and him and Ripley went back. So I think that's how it goes. With the fact that's the hookup there. So long story short, they sent the album in, and we started getting a little. We got signed to Arista, came out, and where that record broke was in the dance clubs. Baby Likes to Rock It. That thing was that thing. I'm gonna tell you something. I came back. I moved back in '93. That came out in '94, I think. '94, I think '94. That thing hit faster than any record. The only record I think it hit faster. I can't think of as far as a single. I can't think of I remember when Ronnie Dunn's Brand New Man came out. When Kix and him went and did those tunes. Great song, man. I mean, I heard that song every 3 minutes when I drove my van from Tulsa, from my driveway in Tulsa to Santa Monica, California. I heard it every 3 minutes, and I was just like, I was like, it was like my record, kind of. I was so happy because I know Ronnie, not real well, but the guys involved, and to see it so close to what just to see him around Tulsa, and I'm playing, he's playing, and or whatever, and he's just like, he just knew. I mean, I told you when he hit a D chord and sang one note, like this guy's going to be. And so there you go. So and then and so I heard that was the same thing with Baby Likes to Rock It. I guess it's like there's some kind of liaison from my van into the radio with this deal. I'm going, maybe I'm hooked into the vortex of this thing because this is the second round for me. Second round being Baby Likes to Rock It Every Treatment. Baby, like it. I'm just going, that's Jamie, man. I'm just going, and that's Walt, that's Ron Getman, that's Ripley and Casey. Those guys are friggin', I mean, the top of the heap real quick. And so it was the fastest rising single in country music history, I think, for a lot of years. And so all of a sudden they're on Leno, which I didn't see that one. The Letterman thing, Connie Chung was on there, I remember, and the Tractors. They were friggin' awesome on Letterman, man. They're awesome on Leno too. I saw the tape of it later, but they were just, and so when I'm watching that, I'm just like, I just blew my mind. It's just like, you're so close to that because you know these guys. So you're in the grid by being with you. You guys are aligned together, and I was as happy for those guys if it was happened to me. I know that sounds crazy, but if you're that close to cats that do that, that pulls you in inspirational wise to, you know, you might not ever be as good as that, but you're going to bust your ass trying. But they keep you going with you need things like that to go with. You got to have that kind of thing to motivate you, to me anyway. And you know, and then Ron's not with us anymore, but the thing I always got to tickle out of those guys on that is like Jamie and Casey and Ron and would always tell me, God, it was colder than hell in there. I remember we were sitting around. I was doing some pickup gig with Casey and Van Beek and Ron and Britt Gomez. The four of us were playing some deal, and we were talking, and me and Gomez were just kind of talking. What's that? And he asked a question. I go, because we're both egging him on, like, what was that like in the studio? What was it when you went in there, and what was Schaefer like with those guys? And you know, because Paul Schaefer played with him. You know, it's a pretty big ensemble. They were killing it. And Ripley was up there, and he goes, "Okay, Jambo, hit it." And Jamie's, so he kicks it off. So they're dead on, and so you know, so the coolest thing is we're sitting in some dive, you know, smoke, and you know, the jukebox is going, and Casey and Ronnie go, God, almost think it was still freaking cold in that place, man. My hands, I picked up my bass or I picked up my guitar. It was like it was so cold I could hardly hold it. I'm just going, I'm on every word, you know, because I mean, Letterman, are you kidding me? Leno, are you friggin' kidding me? I mean, from the Tulsa guys, that goes without saying. So, as I mentioned those guys earlier, I mean, it goes on and on. And then there's some new kids coming up that are going to do the same thing. And it's just a beautiful thing. But, you know, that I hold that close to my heart because I was married. I was newly married, maybe 6 months, 6 months to my late wife, Darcy, if I miss every minute. And that my son was born in 96. So that was, it was 94. So that's 2 years that we just got married, actually. Yeah. And so that was 2 years before my beautiful son was born. And, but it's euphoria to talk, to see it, to experience watching that and growing up with, you know, learning from those guys and getting to play with those guys. And then, but to see them on the Letterman, I mean, you know, that's storybook stuff, you know, it really is. And you get to experience it and then talk to your buddies about it when they come back, you know.
Well, I can tell a story before I let you go.
Yeah.
And so I don't know if you remember, but when we used to see you back at Nathan P. Murphy's, I don't know, 2000, 2001, something like that. I used to bring my son with me a lot. My son was a big music guy. So every time you play out there, you know, my son would come with me. So my wife and I, we lost our son to cancer back in 2013. Oh,
my, I'm so sorry. Is that the son you brought to the?
Yeah. And so when I ran into you again in 2017, you know, I caught you before the set and you seem to remember me because we just started talking about stuff. And at the time you mentioned something about my son, and I explained to you that he passed away. And, you know, we talked for a few more minutes and you played your set when you came down. I walked over to buy a disc from you. and you got the disc, and you signed it, and you handed it to me, and you wouldn't take any money from me.
Wow, wow.
I tell everybody that story. I said, if you ever get a chance to see this guy, not only is he one of the greatest performers you're ever going to see, but he's just a decent human being. You just, I mean,
bless you.
I didn't want to embarrass you, but I felt like I've told this story before in other videos. But
I'm honored, and I'm so sorry about your son. Being a father, you know, I blows me away. I appreciate that, really do. But sorry for.
no,
Well,
I didn't need to show with a bummer, but I really
no,
tell you personally that story.
but I appreciate that again. God bless you for mentioning your son and anything I can do, man. I miss him all the time. And God bless you.
We're going to be looking for that album March 10th.
Yes.
So, you said it'll be on the various platforms. I have Spotify, so I will probably pick it up there unless you happen to coming through Springfield, then I'll buy it right from you.
Hey, you don't have to buy anything from me. It's all in the house forever, man. Don't even think about it. Your money's no good with me, man. It's no problem. And you guys, Springfield rocks. I've got to call Dr. Bob, and what we'll do is we'll get a show booked, and I'll have instead of having Jay called by my agent, I'll just call him myself, and we'll get a shindig going in there, man.
That would be awesome.
Yeah, man.
Thank you for coming on, man. This is awesome for me because you are one of my favorite performers. So,
hey, thank you. It's an honor to be with you, man. I do remember, and my condolences with your son, and God bless you and your wife and your family. And anything I can do for you guys, let me know. I'm here, man. I'm always here.
Any last words you'd like to say?
Hi to Springfield, and I'll be seeing you soon. And I just can't wait to, I can't wait to get on the road again, man. To get to, like I say, it's when you're young and you take it for granted, and it's a deal where you get older. I mean, people tell me that I remember Gatemouth told me that when I got to play with Gate a little bit, Gatemouth Brown, and a while back in 80 and 81, did a couple things, and he said, "Man, there's gonna be someday." He said, "You taking this granted for now." He said, "It gets harder when you get old, And he was like in his 50s or something, I think, maybe or 60s, and he wasn't slowing down. I mean, he's like always thin, and he had more energy than anybody. But BB was the one that told me. Here's the funny one. I'll leave you with this one. He said, "I opened up with BB. This is a great thing to say. That was the funnest gig I ever did. Was at the in fact." It's this. My dad put this together. Let me show you this real quick. My dad, before he died, put this together for me, and he put it before he died, about a year before he died, before he got ill with leukemia. But he put this thing. This is the BB King. It was a ticket for the show. He bought a ticket and went to the show. And my son and my late wife were there. My dad and my mom and a friend of theirs. But anyway, with some friends, and but that BB called me out twice. Says, "Hey, you got to tell us, something along the line. Hey, the Blues is a good shape with your homeboy Scott Ellison, something on that line." I went there, and so he had a guy. Pardon me, I welled up while ago. I'm sniffing here from crying a little bit. I apologize. Anyway, he had one of his horn players get a chair, and he said, "Come on out." And this guy named, I think Jesse, this bodyguard, wasn't looking at me. He know what's going on. He goes, "Jesse, let him out. Come on now, Jesse." So the guy let me, I think it's Jesse. So I went out there and I sat down, and he's playing and talking to me at the same time. He has his guitar sitting there, he's going, and the band's playing, "Rock Me Baby," like this. He's like talking to me, and he goes, "Quick!" Hits the note, and then goes, "Man, it's been a..." And he remembered me from Las Vegas because I had met him with a friend of mine when I first moved to LA. A buddy of mine from Tulsa came out to visit, and he had tickets to some girl gave him real high-end tickets to the BB show in Vegas. So I went to Vegas with him, and I've been in LA about, probably 4 or 5 months, and that was the summer of '83, and I met him. But he remembered that, man. He remembered that.
Incredible.
I go, "God Almighty!" And I said, "We were talking about gambling too, weren't we?" He goes, "Oh yeah," something like that. He was like. But here's the thing. I'm rambling here. The last thing he said, I was talking to him backstage, and they're getting ready to push him out in his wheelchair. He says, "Remember one thing, Scotty." He goes, when you start getting old, things start falling off. That's where what a way to end it. I love you, BB, and God bless you. But that was the fight. If I had to put it down to one gig, that one, and then the Bobby Bland gig at Cain's. You have Bobby Bland in 2000, and then BB in 208. So that those two, of course, there's a lot of stuff in between, and even up to last summer. But those two stand out because it's Bobby Blue Bland, and I did his song on my last album, and one of his hits, and then and Steve Barry, who produced Bobby Bland on his hits, is co-producer on my last record, and then on this one too. So, and then BB King. So it's a very close fraternity, really. When you start, and people tell me that too when I was younger. When you start moving upwards,
yeah.
Really kind of small. Everything kind of, oh God, it's just like the tentacles run over here, then, okay, pull it in here. Okay, here you go. Steve Barry, Bobby Bland, Scott Ellison. There you go.
You know what? I tell you, I'll be honest with you. I could run this show for 3 hours, listen to your stories.
Well, thanks, man. There's no way, is this like, I can watch this on repeat, right? There's a repeat.
Absolutely, yeah. Again, I want to thank Scott Ellison for joining me at the pub. I want to apologize to some of my friends who are going to be wondering why I'm drinking water. Here, but I've got to work tomorrow, man. So I'm taking it easy. But thanks again, sir. I cannot believe you. I'm just amazed to do this show with you, man. You have no idea how excited I was when you agreed to do the show.
Well, listen, toast to you, man, and again, you're a class act, and you do such a great show. And Springfield, man, I love you guys in Springfield, all you guys and gals and kids that play music. That's another thing too. That's what I was going to say. Just not the kids in Tulsa don't. There's not a lot of young kids like elementary coming up. There's a lot of great guys. Let me get this straight here. It's just like when I was at that moment in time in Springfield, the thing I noticed was. And that's because it was in my face. I saw it more, but I saw it seemed to be the schools and the accelerate. How can I say this? It seemed to be more action with music. Here it is. It seemed to be a little more activity with music in the schools, which is so important, man.
Absolutely, yes.
What kills me, man. I think that's hurt music a lot. There's some great, like I say, it's always, I'm a fan of. If I, age makes no difference because I was blessed. I got to play with all the guys that were better than me when I was younger, like Chuck Blackwell. They molded me. Those guys, Ann Bell and I talk about this all the time. There's another talent. You got to Google her name and hear her sing. My God, she's the Aretha Franklin of Tulsa, Oklahoma. She came up. Last but not least, I got to say Ann Bell.
Okay.
She sang with Leon. On records and toured with Leon, and she's been on hits with Joe Cocker, Fun Time with Joe Cocker. She's been on some great records and been on some, Leon stuff. Just Leon loved her. And when she had her twins, Leon was right there, at the hospital with her. I mean, she's in there with J.J. Kell and Leon and the Gap Band. She was at the did stuff with the Gap Band. So she's the Aretha Franklin, if you will, of Tulsa from the standpoint. And then the late Debbie Campbell was another. She's not originally from Tulsa, but she might as well have been from Tulsa because she was a big influence on a lot of young female singers coming up when she was here. So she's a part of the Tulsa fabric sound and so then Betsy Smittle was great. The late Betsy Smittle, Gus Hardin, my God, man. Gus Hardin was like our Coco Taylor plus Tax. Coco Taylor on steroids. I mean, and then she could sing the phone book too. And Ann is like, she's the Etta James, Aretha Franklin. She's on a level, Ann Bell's on a level that, it's like it's like me trying to, Eric Clapton's my main. I mean, all the Kings, if I had, I love Albert BB. I'm with the Kings all the way. Muddy, Johnny Winter, Doyle, Bramall, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. All the Bramalls play great, but I'll tell you, it's just get it down to one. it's just the talent is unbelievable. But going back to Ann, she is by far the best that's ever come out of Tulsa. I mean, and I was going to say too, she's on her own side of the fence. I'm kind of going around trying to figure out how to say this with her because there's so many great singers. I mentioned Debbie Campbell and the late Betsy Smuttle. Gus Hardin was, they're just incredible singers, and their vocal ability and their facility of being able to deliver the notes, man. I mean, fucking the best. You can't get any better. And Ann is on a tier, and Marcy Levy. Those two gals are on their own side of the fence. They're both different. They're both killer. They're just different. It's like comparing Eric Clapton to Ry Cooder or Larry Carlton to Steve Lukather, or you know what I'm saying? So, but those two,
yeah.
I think of female singers, and of course, I think Gus. I put Gus and Debbie in the center, and then the bookends being Ann and Debbie. But see, that's like so. But to see her, I mean, my God, I got to work with Debbie. I've gotten to do a few gigs in the past with Ann years ago, and Debbie did some gigs with her, and to be on stage, to watch them sing, and now she gets better. Just check out Ann right now, and oh my God, it's incredible. But anyway, that's our Aretha Franklin, and she's still killing it. So anyway, hey man, I enjoyed to talk about all my heroes, huh?
Hey, that's what we're here for. Hey, I do want to do a quick shout out for Distilled Brewed and Review. They left a comment for us, and hello, my friends. I want to mention them for watching the show.
Was it? I'm sorry.
Distilled Brewed and Reviewed left us a comment, said hello, my friends. So again, one more time, I want to thank Scott Ellison for joining me. I am Tom the Beer Whisperer, but you knew that. Prolific beer drinker, purveyor of wisdom, all around good guy. Hey, thanks, Scott. I appreciate you, man.
Thank you, sir.